What is fear? Is it a primal survival instinct, a psychological trick of the mind, or an existential burden that shapes our destiny? Fear is more than just an emotion. It dictates the course of human evolution, shapes societies, and even defines individual lives. But is fear our enemy, or is it an unacknowledged teacher? Today, we are going to break down fear, scientifically, psychologically, and philosophically. This is not just an exploration. This is a confrontation with the thing that controls us, the thing that keeps us awake at night. Let's begin. Fear is ancient. It existed long before civilization, before philosophy, before art. It was the guiding force behind evolution, shaping creatures to avoid danger, to react swiftly, to survive. At the heart of fear is the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure in the brain's temporal lobes. Its work, processing emotions, particularly fear and anxiety. When a threat is perceived, whether it's a charging predator or the shadow of uncertainty, the amygdala signals the hypothalamus, triggering the fight, flight, or freeze response. Adrenaline floods the system. The heart races, muscles tense, the mind sharpens. Fear prepares us to act. But what happens when there is no predator? Why do we fear things that exist only in the mind? Failure, rejection, uncertainty, death. To answer this, we must go beyond biology into the realm of psychology. Research shows that babies do not appear to show signs of fear until around the age of 8 to 12 months. While some fears may be innate in human beings, many fears are learned. Fear is not always logical. It can be exaggerated, distorted, or completely detached from reality. There are different types of fear. 1. Innate fears. Hardwired into our brains for survival, they include fear of heights or darkness. 2. Learned fears. These are fears developed from experience, for example, fearing public speaking after a humiliating moment. 3. Phobias. These are irrational fears, such as fear of spiders, snakes, confined spaces, or social interactions. But beyond these, there is another fear, a fear deeper than any external threat, the fear of the unknown. Humans crave certainty, yet life offers none. The unpredictable nature of reality is enough to send the mind spiraling into anxiety. This is why fear is often paralyzing. It convinces us that the worst will happen, making us avoid risks, challenges, and even our own potential. Yet, fear is also a motivator. It pushes athletes to train harder, entrepreneurs to take calculated risks, soldiers to overcome their fear to protect others. So, is fear truly an obstacle, or is it a tool? To answer this, we must go deeper into the realm of philosophy. Fear is not just a biological response or a psychological condition. It is a fundamental part of human existence. Existential fear, the dread of being. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into the vast emptiness below. You are not in danger, yet something inside you trembles. It is not just the fear of falling, it is the fear of your own ability to step forward. This is existential anxiety, the fear of boundless possibilities, the burden of freedom. This is a kind of fear Søren Kierkegaard described. He believed fear was not just about external threats, but also about the terrifying freedom we possess, the infinite choices that life presents. He called this existential anxiety. It is the unease that arises when we realize there is no set path, no predetermined meaning, and that we alone must carve our way. Martin Heidegger took this idea further, arguing that human beings live in constant angst, a deep, unsettling fear not of something specific, but of existence itself. He believed that most people run from this fear, burying themselves in distractions, jobs, entertainment, routines, to avoid confronting the raw truth that life is uncertain, fleeting, and ultimately leads to death. Take the case of someone stuck in a meaningless corporate job. They are not in immediate danger, yet they feel suffocated. The fear is not of losing the job, it is of wasting life itself. This is Heidegger's angst, the awareness that life is slipping away and the terrifying realization that they might never find true purpose. Jean-Paul Sartre described fear as the weight of radical freedom. If we are truly free, then we cannot blame fate, God, or society for our failures. We are responsible for everything we do, and that is terrifying. This is why many people choose to conform rather than take risks. Consider an artist afraid to showcase their work. Deep down, the fear is not of criticism, it is of responsibility. If they put their work out there and fail, they can no longer tell themselves, I could have been great. Their illusion of potential dies, and they must face reality. This is the true essence of existential fear, not the fear of external threats, but the fear of facing ourselves. But fear is not just personal, it is also political. Fear as a tool for control. Throughout history, fear has been used to manipulate and control. Thomas Hobbes argued that fear of violence and chaos is what led humans to create governments. Without authority, he believed, life would be nasty, brutish, and short. People willingly surrender freedom in exchange for security. In his book, The Prince, Niccolò Machiavelli argues that if a leader cannot be both loved and feared, it's better to be feared than loved, as fear is a more reliable motivator and ensures obedience. This philosophy has been used by dictators and authoritarian leaders throughout history. Michel Foucault analyzed how modern societies use subtle forms of fear, surveillance, social norms, and regulations to keep people in check. A real-world example is the Patriot Act in the U.S. after 9/11. In response to fear, governments expanded surveillance and restricted freedoms, with people willingly accepting these measures for the illusion of safety. Even in daily life, fear dictates behavior. The fear of social rejection makes people conform. The fear of being seen as a failure stops people from pursuing dreams. The fear of uncertainty keeps people in unhappy relationships or unfulfilling careers. The question is, are these fears real, or are they manufactured to keep us controlled? At the root of all fear lies one great, unavoidable truth: death. The Stoics taught that death is a natural and inevitable part of life, not something to be feared, but rather an opportunity to live more fully and virtuously, accepting it as a natural end to a natural process. Greek philosopher Epicurus argued that death does not concern us, because as long as we exist, death is not there. And once it does come, we no longer exist. To fully understand Epicurus' point, look at what happens when we are unconscious or in deep sleep. We don't experience or remember the unconsciousness or the deep sleep. We only remember the last thing we did before the unconsciousness and not what happened within the unconsciousness. Albert Camus viewed the fear of death as part of the absurd, the conflict between humans seeking meaning and a universe that offers none. He posed a powerful question. If life has no inherent meaning, should we despair? Or should we rebel by creating our own? In his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, he compares human existence to Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity. But instead of despairing, Camus argues that true freedom is found in embracing the absurd, accepting meaninglessness, but choosing to live passionately anyway. And yet, some of the greatest achievements in history were born from the awareness of death. Steve Jobs, diagnosed with cancer, said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." In The Gay Science, Nietzsche views death not as a mere event or inevitable termination of life, but a free act similar to other matters of choice. Artists, entrepreneurs, and explorers who risk everything to pursue their passions, despite knowing they will eventually die. They defy death by living fully. So, should we fear death? Or should we fear not living before it comes? So, what do we do with fear? Do we fight it, accept it, or transcend it? Some, like Buddhists, believe fear is an illusion, a product of attachment. Let go of the ego, and fear dissolves. Some, like Nietzsche, argue that fear should be faced head-on. It is the path to growth. Others, like Simone de Beauvoir, believe fear is imposed by society, and breaking free from it is an act of rebellion. But in the end, one truth remains. Fear is inevitable. But whether it controls us, that is a choice. The person who fears rejection never speaks their mind. The person who fears failure never takes risks. The person who fears death never truly lives. So, which fear is greater? The fear of stepping into the unknown, or the fear of looking back at life with regret? Because in the end, there is only one way to overcome fear: to act. He who has overcome his fears will truly be free. Aristotle. Thanks for watching. To get more on existential philosophy and psychological insights, comment, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Goodbye.